Parents of Reddit. What was your, in no way is this person dating my child moment? Story 1, I was the guy that was never going to date someone's daughter. I started dating a girl in my late teens, and it seemed to be going well. One day, while hanging out at her house, her father came into the living room and started talking to her in French. They're of French heritage. Im not. I could see that the girl was getting upset, answering back. Then he got noticeable more angry, and it escalated until finally she grabbed my hand, said, "Let's go," and we went outside. I asked what that was all about, and she proceeded to tell me how her father didn't want me in their house because he had heard stories about my father, the drunk that had multiple run-ins with the law, none of which were good. She tried defending me by saying that I was nice, and she liked me, to which he replied that he didn't care what she thought because she needed to trust him. I was only going to hurt her and get her into trouble. Apples don't fall far from the tree. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. So I did nothing but be myself. I didn't avoid him. I didn't try to kiss his. I just went on as though I had never heard what was said while his daughter and I continued to date. That was in 1997. His daughter and I got engaged and bought our first house together in 2001. We were married in 2003. We tried unsuccessfully for many emotional years to have children. We battled together successfully through my wife's cancer between 2009 to 2010. We were blessed with our first daughter in 2013. We happily welcomed our second daughter just 2 months ago. We have no intentions of not growing old together. There have been so many times over the last 15 years that my father-in-law has told me how happy he is to have me as a son-in-law and how thankful he is that his daughter is with someone that treats her so well and is always there for her. I can't imagine how our lives would have been had my wife listened to her father. Edit. First off, thank you for all of the warm wishes and positive comments. I can't begin to put into words how it feels to know that my story has touched so many people. Thank you, Jubilant11, for the gold. I might save it and surprise my wife with it for our 20th anniversary. Not quite sure how to, though. I apologize to all those that took the time to personally respond, but with a 2-year-old, a newborn, and work, I'm going to address most questions here. Did I learn ever French? I took French all through high school, even got awards for achievement, but I'm not fluent enough to follow when my wife's family speaks it fast and throws in their small French community slang, my wife's cancer. That story isn't novel in itself, but we are thankful that she has been cancer-free for over 5 years. It was sinus cancer, and if you want to know more about it, here's a thread that I went into detail about it. My father, I know the stories of my dad. I know how the public saw him, but he was my dad. He was the man that took us camping, road trips, to the beach, every weekend somewhere different as a family. He instilled in me the moral barometer that I guide my life by and how I treat others. Was he a drunk? Yup. Did he have multiple run-ins with the law? Yup, but he was still a good human being that cared for his family. He passed away in 2002 from health problems caused by years of drinking and smoking. I remember him saying one time that if he lived to be 50, he'd be happy. But as he laid in the hospital bed dying at 54, he wanted more. He didn't know it at that time, but he had only met 2 of what would become 12 grandchildren for him. And I wish that was different, my father-in-law. We are actually very close now. I understand his looking out for the best interest of his daughter, and he regrets not being a bigger person to judge me as an individual instead of solely where I was from. I hold nothing against him. His opinion of me changed after about 2 years of us being together. I'm sure by this point he had seen how happy his daughter and I were together, and I'm sure by that point he figured that there was a chance for me to be around for a long time. It was about the 2-year mark when we actually started talking. It might have helped that I had just started my apprenticeship as an electrician, and with him being a millwright, we now had a common ground to talk on, or it could have been that he's seen that I was on a path that could provide for his daughter. Either way, we started talking, and it formed a bond that is strong to this day. What will I do as a father of 2 girls when my daughters bring home interests that I don't care for? I have a while to go, but when the time comes, yes, I will be looking out for my daughters as closely as I can. I fully intend on trying to get to know the individual as closely as I can. I know that looks can be deceiving, but I also know that sometimes a duck is simply a duck, as You Account 2016M stated in their comment. Not every story ends like ours. My wife and I are trying to raise our daughters with good morals and hopefully helping them mold into individuals with good heads on their shoulders, but it's too early for us to tell yet. We can only hope that they will be able to be a good judge of character, and we can only hope that they'll become the type of young ladies that we can trust their judgment in people. Fingers crossed, Nicholas Sparks. This name kept coming up, and I had no idea who it was. Based off some of the other comments, I initially, though, was the old man in the movie Up. I haven't seen it yet, and my kids are too young, but now I know who he is. Thank you, Google. That's all the time I have for now. Thank you again to all those that cared enough to read and comment. It really does mean a lot to me. If I can give any advice at the end of the day, try to get to know someone before judging them. Sure, your first instincts might be right on target, but every now and again you're bound to miss one. and those could be the missed relationships that could have meant the most to you. Story 2. Everyone thought it was so cute that this little 6-year-old monster had a crush on my 5-year-old girl. He would write her love notes and such. When I met the kid, he had his shirt on inside out and backwards, and he was chewing on his collar. No way this kid is dating my daughter. Boy can't even dress himself, and he thinks his clothes are a chew toy over my dead body. Story 3. Not me, but someone I went to school with was dating the daughter of some local successful business owner while he was in college. It was apparent that the parents did not like him, but neither him or his girlfriend really gave a, and he wasn't really a scummy person. He was just a little skinny and awkward. One day he's leaving work, and as he gets in his car, this big dude grabbed the keys from him and closes the door. The father gets in the passenger side of the car, and the big dude gets in the back seat. The father was extremely calm and had his checkbook with him. He wrote a check for $5,000 and said for my friend to take the check and never be seen with his daughter again, or even near the property or his businesses. My friend initially refused, but the father said the only other option was to not take the check, and then his friend in the back seat would find other arrangements that would make him really wish that he had taken the check. They then left the car and gave him his keys back. My friend was pretty shaken up by the experience and held on to the check for a few days until he was able to talk to his girlfriend about the situation. She was furious, of course. They then cashed the check and flew out to California and eloped. They were secretly married for 12 years before the parents found out. Sadly, the marriage did not last for other reasons, but last I heard, they're still good friends. Story 4, kind of off topic, but I was always the kid that the parents wanted to date their daughters, and the daughters hated me. I would have been better off in an arranged marriage society at that point in my life. Story 5, not a parent, but an older brother. I'm about 13 years older than my little brother, and after my parents died, I basically raised him. And when he was 16 and in his rebellious phase, he started dating this really douchey guy who I got super bad vibes from. I didn't know until after it was over, but he was very controlling and was constantly trying to pressure my brother into doing things he wasn't really comfortable doing, drinking, smoking, etc. And since I didn't know this was happening, I just figured he would get over this creep and find someone decent later on. I didn't have any evidence that the guy was bad, so I avoided conflict by letting it happen. Yeah, bad idea. Obviously, I immediately shut it down when my brother came home with a bruise on his cheek. Apparently, the dickhead had hit him after my brother said no to having with him. There wasn't an argument between us. He realized that his ex, obviously boyfriend, was a total tool after that. Story 6, when he was 14, my son caught the attention of the only girl on his hockey team. They started hanging out a bit, and she would dye his hair strange colors, all harmless stuff. Then he found out she was also hanging out with some other guys and got suspended from school for drug alcohol abuse. So he backed away. Then she drunk dialed him one night at midnight, telling him how much she missed him. He told her that this was not okay, and he liked hanging out with her, but not if she was going to be like that. I think her parents had also had enough of her antics because she spent the following summer at a special hockey camp far away from home and played on an all-girls team the next season. So my son basically handled it himself, but there was in no way we were going to let it carry on if he hadn't. Story 7, not a parent, but my little sister's boyfriend is awful. She just turned 20, but she was a teenager by the age of 6. Her hobbies are makeup, fashion, and her hair. She takes hours to get ready to go out. She wears hair extensions every day. She works out. High maintenance is probably the word. Basically, she's all about her appearance. Her boyfriend is not. He's overweight and scruffy. He wore sweatpants to Christmas dinner, and he ate so much he fell asleep at the table. I'm pretty sure he owns only one polo shirt, which is his idea of dressed up. He's not intelligent. Together, they're the hot wife-slob-husband clique you find in sitcoms. However, the worst part is he's 6 years older than her and already has 2 children by 2 different mothers. Both of them look very similar to my sister. I really don't know what she sees in him, but I hope she breaks it off soon. Story 8, my son is 15 and recently had his first girlfriend. A couple of months ago, I was driving them home from school and asking about their day. The girlfriend started explaining that they were learning about the Holocaust in their World War II unit. When this exchange took place, girlfriend, the Holocaust was horrible. It should have never happened to the Jews. It should have happened to the Muslims instead. Me, after a quick break check, what? Girlfriend, it should have happened to the Muslims instead. Me, no. Something like the Holocaust shouldn't have happened to anyone at any time. Girlfriend, I just don't like Muslims. Me, have you ever met one? Girlfriend, no, but I just don't like them. After dropping her off, I had a talk with my son about how the opinions of others should not influence our own. 2 days later, he broke up with her because she wanted him to go vegan like her. He loves bacon too much to ever give it up. I was very proud of him. Story 9, I got a phone call one time. It was some dude saying, look, I'm dating your daughter, and you can't stop us, we are in love. And then I cut him off with my laughing and was like, I'm 17, ain't got no kids. Story 10 Throwaway. When my youngest sister was 15, she started dating a 20-year-old scumbag. He dealt coke, drove drunk stoned, got my sister pregnant 3 times, she always had abortions, and my parents just worried silently. Never came down hard on her when she wouldn't come for days, would cut class, would go visit him in hotels when his mother kicked him out, etc. I'm 5 years older, so was at college when this all happening, but when I'd come home on weekends, I'd go looking for her and yell and make a fuss. She, of course, hated me for years and does not want to tell her teen daughters about him. She finally broke up with him when he totaled my dad's car. It's a wonder he didn't die in that crash, and decades later, she tells me she still thinks she could have turned him around and bears him no ill will, is probably in prison or dead. I'm a parent of teens now. Thankfully, I don't see my kids going down that road, but I will not sit idly by, waiting for some stupid teen to finally see the light if my kids make a wrong turn. If you see something, say something. I was the kid they didn't let her date. She was rich, I was poor, I was depressed, she was happy, she never smoked a cigarette, I became a heroin addict, and you know the rest of the God story edit. Yeah, I get it, they made the right decision. The funny thing is people make mistakes, and it wasn't their decision to make. Story 11 Not a parent, but I on the receiving end of this kind of attitude for a while. Early high school, I met a girl in my church youth group. We made eyes at each other and eventually developed some feelings for each other. When we would try to spend some time together outside of youth group. However, her mom would have a fit and do whatever she could to keep us apart. Her mother's main reason to keep us apart was that I was a year older. I believed that at first, so I did my best to convince her that I was responsible and worthy to date her daughter. She was having none of it. The girl was grounded from everything and forbidden to go to the same church, just so she wouldn't see me. I thought maybe she just despised the idea of her daughter dating anybody until I heard her mom try to set her up with one of the girl's guy friends for a school dance. For whatever reason, she was determined to not let me date her daughter. We found out later that her mom was probably just a controlling psycho dash. A couple years and countless secret exchanges and meetings later, she was finally turning 18. By then, our relationship was very healthy and fairly serious. As soon as she was legally able, she moved out of her mother's house to gain independence and to allow us to be together. We spent as much time together as possible given that I was in college in a different city. Everything was great for a while until she got into some rough stuff with her newfound freedom. She got really deep into the party scene and did a whole myriad of drugs. I still held on, though, until she cheated on me a couple months ago. It's pretty ironic that I was the one that was the unfit one. Story 12, I found out some courtier son had seduced my noble daughter. I spent generations breeding geniuses with strong and attractive people, modifying my religion, culture, and succession laws to make her my heir. The worst part, this inbred, slow, stuttering sod was a carling. Story 13. So there's kind of a funny joke between me and my best friend. She has a 2-year-old son that she jokes is gay as he loves playing with mommy's makeup. And he once made out with his own reflection in a department store full-body mirror while her son, and I went to get a button-up shirt. She flat out said, Zwiebelsaft, when my son is of age in 16 years, if he's gay after all, you're not to date him. To which I said, I can't stand 18-year-olds now. God forbid when I'm 40. Story 14, I allowed my daughter to date the questionable young man in my home, in the living room, under my direct supervision. I figured that if I had forbidden it, she might resort to sneaking and lying. Turns out I was just judging a book by its cover, because he was actually a nice young man. Story 15, it is dumb my mother gave my sister, just because he is white and Jewish. She said white boys and non-Christians and every other race except black, also religion, only go after blacks for. She treated him so poorly, and my sister was too scared of her to stand up for herself, leading to their breakup. Well, my mom sure will be pissed when she sees what I bring home. Story 16, not a parent here, but I forbid my female friends to date my coworker. He brags about cheating on girls, and I know he'll treat them like an object. He's even gone so far as to talk about another girl's boyfriend just to try and get them to break up. Edit, I'm pretty sure one of my coworkers quit because of him. Story 17, my daughter was going to her junior prom with a boy I didn't know. I figured that she's intelligent, so this kid couldn't be all bad. He pulls up on a motorcycle, and this is no boy, it is a 20-year-old man. So I bring this guy into my house and ask him to step into my room. Once we were in my room, I open up my closet, and the guy asks me, dude, what is that? And I tell him it's called a serious tag. The OP should have used one. Story 18, opposite side of this situation. True story, was a 21-year-old male, met a fun girl at work. We had a large group that would go to the local pub bar on Fridays, so one day, I invited her to go with us all. Not realizing she was 20 and therefore illegal in the U.S., she goes, we have fun. The next week, I ask her out for a traditional date of dinner and a movie. Unbeknownst to me, her psycho ex-boyfriend thinks I have stolen her away and tempted her with the evils of booze. He calls her parents, and tells them I'm smuggling her into bars. I show up to pick her up. Meet her brother, who is going on about being a former coke addict and is in rehab. I tell him I sympathize, having tried it once, but not being a fan. He proceeds to run out and announce, "See, he tried it, and he's fine." After that, the dad dragged me into the garage and told me if I contaminated his baby girl, he'd literally hunt me down and kill me. I didn't want to offend this dinosaur as a black belt, so I just looked him in the eye and said, "I respect your daughter because she deserves it. Not because you want me to." That seemed to placate him, and off we went to our date. The drama level was so high, I never went back and told her at work that life was too short. Story 19, I'm a parent, but he's only 7. When his mother and I were together, though, her parents hated my guts. I was 19 and she was 18. I worked full-time at a hotel, but since I was a teenager going on young adult, I didn't care much for it. I still live with my mom, so I didn't worry too much besides having money to go out and pay my phone bill. I would call out a lot, and I eventually go fired. I was in some bad ways, nothing like drugs, but I was just lazy and would rather hang with my girlfriend Bone, get drunk, and such. Funny thing was I was really overweight, and she was a perfect 10, great small waist, gorgeous face, the whole package. I guess that was another reason why they didn't want me around her. Anyways, I understood why they didn't want me around her, but she defended me, and we kept together despite what her whole family said. She got pregnant, and that's when I went and changed myself. I tried looking for jobs, but I couldn't find anything. The baby came, and I still couldn't get a decent job. Her family finally convinced her to leave me, and she did. Those are some real bad times. I had a shitty job, would take the bus every morning at 4:30 a.m., gained more weight, etc. She ended up marrying some other guy. Even worse times for me. But after about 2 years in total despair, I got my together. I started working out, losing weight, getting buff. I landed an awesome job that paid me more than I ever made him still there. Built my credit, bought a car, got my own place, etc. I would go pick my son up from her house or her family's house, and they would see how much better I was doing, and that's when they changed their tone with me. They started telling me to get back together with her. They would tell me her marriage was intolerable, that she had deep financial troubles. I would just laugh and say, "Now you want me to be with her after all that you told me. I haven't told many people that story. Thought you would enjoy it." I guess you can say some people you think are wrong for your child end up being better than you could have ever imagined. Story 20, my sisters and I are all around the same age. Me being the oldest, sadly they have grown up to be basically whores who like using guys to help them pay their bills and for carefree company. I've seen genuinely well-mannered guys get played by them. These guys know about their game and yet still go into it. The power of beauty and telling sob life stories as a way to woo people. I wouldn't let my sisters go with guys that remind me of them, though. It's like they can't smell guys that are manipulative and unable to commit just like them, LOL. Those are the ones they look for relationships with. Story 21, in the older sister, my dad doesn't have Reddit. My dad made my brother stop seeing his girlfriend because her house got shot up and her car blown up. She was a super sweet girl with a really nice family. We never found out if they were attacked randomly, or if they were somehow gang affiliated, or if they were attacked because they were a mixed family. There could be a lot of anger towards mixed families where the father is white and the mother is black around here. Dad was afraid my brother would be caught up in whatever happened. I think it was probably a good idea to break them up, but everyone was sad it happened. Story 22, when I met my kid's new girlfriend at his brother's football game. She was wearing a halter top and short shorts that showed but cheeks. Everyone else was wearing jackets because it was chilly. She handed my kid a 20 for spending money. He was 17, she was 21. Then I found out she was a stripper. It was, oh, no. Fortunately, she broke up with him because he wasn't into kinky like she was. He told me he was relieved because she was scary in bed and didn't understand why she wanted to do certain things. Bless his heart. Story 23, I talked to him for a while. Normal stuff. Then my daughter came down the stairs, and it was just so odd. Their interaction together just seemed off. Plus, next to my kid, this guy was tiny. I mean, he must have been 14 of a foot tall. The look on his face, too. The motherfucker was purple. No one should look that purple. That's when I realized it was a genetically modified turnip that had gained sentience. No way was she going out with that. Story 24, not a parent, but I've been on the receiving end of this. Basically was dating a guy. We were incredibly happy, but when his parents found out that we were dating, they told him that they didn't want him dating anyone who was non-Greek. I am Asian. He didn't listen to them because it wasn't an outcome he wanted, but after a while it became difficult because instead of dealing with the problem, taking me around his family more so that they could get to know me instead of applying this blanket rule, he just avoided it so he could have the best of both worlds. He was very close to his family. As I understand, a lot of people with Greek heritage think my big fat Greek wedding. We broke up 2 weeks ago because his parents consistently told him he couldn't date someone outside of his culture. We still care for each other, but he told me his hands are more tied than I realize when it comes to who he can date. I told him his choice to allow someone to decide for him who he can and cannot see is a decision in itself. Story 25, not a parent, but younger sister, older sister. The broad had a Chanel sign tattooed on her wrist. I dug my nails into his shoulder as deeply and as hard as I could, and said no. Months later, they are madly in love. We're still waiting to see if she gold digs my brother. And this other broad tells me she believes in fist divorces, as in whoever she marries first she will likely divorce. It was at that point I told my brother, "You two are not a good fit." Story 26, they seemed like the perfect couple at first, from a good family. Dad was an old friend from the army. He was a good-looking kid, golden hair, carried himself well, but we began to realize that when things didn't go his way, he'd fly off the handle. He claims he was attacked by our other daughter's dog, and yes, he did have dog bites on his hand, but demanded the dog be put down while his dad carries a lot of weight, and he ordered it. So we had to put down our dog. Later on, I realized that he was not even my buddy's kid, that his wife had been banging, get this, her own brother, and the kid was the product of, probably explained his temper. I put this information out once the dad died, and after I was double-crossed, the kid had me executed. 010 would not let her date him again. Story 27, the first time I met my current boyfriend's mom, I looked like this. Clearly, I'm awesome at making first impressions, but we've been together for a while now, and we're super happy, see? Story 28, speaking for my mother-in-law. Her moment occurred sometime between the moment I purchased a tarantula and the moment she found out I ride a motorcycle. I'm getting married in September, and so far only a few family members have threatened to boycott the wedding. Hooray. Story 29, I'm not a parent, but I am the child who dated the "there's in no way you're dating my daughter" type. Around grade 10 is when I started to go through my "it's not just a phase" and got into the more, let's just say, alternative look. With my look changing, so did the group of friends I had, and majority of the friends I had were rough around the edges. 3 years older than me metalhead males. I remember this one guy in particular, I do like to call him Peanut, because he was a big goofy idiot who I met at a metal show with a big group of friends. Peanut was the poster boy for metal dudes, tattoos up and down both arms, gauges, the whole package to bring home to mom. Well, after a night of motioning and drinking and my friends swooning over this guy, I decided I was going to date Peanut, and I did. Fast forward about a week after this show, and I decided to invite my scrap metal over to watch a movie. Cue my mother opening the door to a 6-foot tattooed dirty man coming to watch a movie with her poor little 17-year-old daughter. The fright in her eyes was real. We went to the basement and started the movie, and my mom promptly made sure she had laundry to do. We watched the movie, talked a bunch, and he headed home. Little did my mom know she didn't have to worry at all, because, well, I'm a lesbian. My mom would only learn this Thanksgiving of my graduating year. Peanut and I broke up, and I told him the truth as to why it wasn't working, and he wasn't entirely happy about the situation, but he was very understanding, and we're actually still friends today. I stopped dating men to fit in and became more comfortable with who I really am. One last thing I do like to share is the reaction of my mom when I told her I was a lesbian. Picture how PTSD is depicted in movies. Now apply my mom's wide-eyed stare while she's driving, as the memories of all the sleepovers I had during high school flashed before her eyes in a quick, almost movie-like montage to the realization that it was never Peanut she had to worry about all along. Story 30, my son, the soon-to-be heir of my hold of Blackhaven, was found sleeping with some wildling savage during our visit north to show him Winterfell and have him meet the northern lords. In seconds, I had Lord Bolton do the honors of flaying the savage and my son. Well, let's just say he won't see any green grass or sand ever again. Story 31, not the parent, but the person in question. I dated a girl long ago whose dad was a Vietnam vet and big-time patriot. He's a great guy. Not being sarcastic, she thought it'd be a good idea for he and I to have some time together while she got ready, because she figured he'd really like me and allow us to stay out later after meeting me. He was watching a war movie, so I joined him on the couch and asked questions about what was going on. He was thrilled to explain, and things seemed to be going well, until a scene where a guy started on a mortar whilst another guy next to the mortar caught on fire. I made a comment that I thought was clever at the time. It wasn't. Why is he on the turret? He needs to on that other soldier, of course. I meant he shit on the guy that's on fire to put out the fire. It wasn't a good or clever observation. I know I was nervous, but her dad, knowing we were into and anti-war, took it to mean that I thought soldiers should be pissed on for participating in war. He pulled me outside and said that if I was an adult or he was drunker, he'd have already knocked my lights out. But because he can't assault a minor, I had 10 seconds to get off his property. All I could muster was no. I support the troops. Then I left quickly. She straightened it out later, and he turned out to be a really awesome guy, and I totally saw where he was coming from, although I don't approve of the assumptions. Story 32, I remember this kid who was tall, skinny, and white. He would go around thinking, I don't think literally that he was an ostrich. He would peck at people and squawk very loud. He would call himself Dowdly a Dowdle. This was during my daughter's junior high years, so there's a high chance he has grown out of that phase by now. In short, he was friends with my daughter, and there was no way an ID let her date him. And no, from my recollection, he was not in the special ed. I only had him in my house once, and you'd think he'd have the decency to leave his persona at school, but he didn't. What a nuisance. Story 33, throwaway because I'm paranoid. I'm that guy right now. The girl's mom found out we like each other and has put a bunch of rules into place about us not being alone together, checking her texts, curfews, monitoring her screen time on social media, etc. It really sucks because she's going completely overboard and fears something will happen between us, like they somehow expect a teen pregnancy when both of our families are Christian conservative. The girl has been in and out of trouble repeatedly over the past few weeks, and now both parents know and don't want us near each other regardless. Funnily enough, our time overseas have both expired. We're moving to the same place this summer by pure chance. Her parents want a house as far away as possible, while her mom claims she wants us to still be friends, just without a romantic relationship, at the same time not allowing us the privileges of being friends. I kind of hope this gets buried in fear of someone I know reading it. Oh. Story 34. My son is almost 21. A few months ago, when he still lived with me, he had some girl come over for dinner. I asked her to walk across the street to the store with me. It's about a 5-minute walk. As we were walking, I started asking her about herself. She just came out and told me that she had just got out of rehab because her last boyfriend got her hooked on heroin. Then I asked her how did she meet my son, and she explained she used to live in my apartment complex, but she had been kicked out because she trashed the apartment. I asked what she meant, and she told me that she threw her boyfriend's mother through the window because she thought she was breaking in the house when she was actually bringing groceries for them. Said she was sleeping when the mother came in, so she didn't know. She told me some other off-the-wall stuff, but obviously by this time I was done. Fed her, sent her on her way, and told my son in no uncertain terms would he see her again. Story 35, not her parent, but older sister 23 to a younger girl 16 at the time. ID been hearing stories of a guy that she was working with that I went to high school with and her becoming friends, and from the get-go I had my eye on that situation because dude is a few years older than me, 25 at the time, and he was a total creep and a deadbeat dad to 2 children from 2 different mothers. A little backstory on this man is while we were in high school, him and I talked, nothing went on, just talked for a little while, and I decided then he was there to make matters worse. My sister and I look almost identical. She comes over one day and is upset because he told her something along the lines of your sister is so hot. I should have tried harder to her when I had the chance. Not to mention this guy is a high school dropout who does drugs all day and has worked the same entry-level position at McDonald's for literally 10 years, not hating on the restaurant industry, as I'm part of it myself. But come on, after 10 years you haven't moved up at all. Flash forward 2 weeks, and they're officially dating. My sister has low self-esteem, thinks she's way more mature than she is, and has struggled with living in my shadow in the past, so I'm pissed that she's dating this bag. But in all honesty, not terribly surprised. I immediately go to my mom, because short of calling the cops, there isn't much I could do to stop them. My mom does absolutely nothing, forbids her from dating him, but takes no actual steps to stop her. They dated for about 7 to 9 months or so, and he becomes increasingly controlling and abusive only mentally to my knowledge, although I know at one point he did shove her. This guy is absolutely crazy, texting her while she's at work, saying things like you should have been off by now, I know you're out, other guys, just really off-the-wall insane accusations. Eventually, she finds another guy she likes and breaks up with him, and everything worked out. But for a while there, she refused to talk to me because I was the only one doing anything to stop the relationship, which sucked because, despite the age difference, we've always been very close. She's on my arena, so thank God I wasn't worried she'd get pregnant or anything, and not much harm done in the long run. My next step was to go to the authorities, but she turned 17 shortly into the relationship, which is the age of consent in my state. TLDR, my 1,617-year-old sister started dating a guy 25 who was obsessed with me in high school. Became very abusive. No one tried to stop it but me. She eventually got tired of it and left, but was scary for a while.